Welcome to I'm Busy on Purpose, the podcast for small business owners who are over the hustle, the overwhelm, and that constant pressure to always be doing more. If your business feels like it's running you instead of the other way around, consider this your wake-up call. Here, we're going to slow it down, cut through the chaos, and actually take back control. I'm your host, Lucy Carter, and I'll be sharing real stories to help you feel less alone and practical tips that won't scramble your brain even more than it already is. Every week, I'll be here to remind you that by reconnecting with yourself, focusing on what really matters, and taking aligned action, you can have a business that fuels your life instead of draining it. No fluff, no guilt, just straight up guidance to help you feel confident, in control, and actually enjoy the ride of small business ownership. So go grab your coffee or your wine, there's no judgment here. Take a deep breath and finally give yourself permission to do business your way. Hey everyone, welcome back to I'm Busy on Purpose. So this episode is a little bit delayed getting out, and there is a whole plethora of reasons as to why. And it's actually helped me kind of create this episode. And like I've always say, like my podcasts are always going to be kind of like in real time, whatever I'm going through or whatever I've dealt with in the past and how I'm kind of figuring things out as I go. I'm going to be sharing that with you. So yeah, the last week or couple of weeks, should I say, have been slightly challenging. And last week I was just completely flat. And I had been meaning to record this podcast or this episode for a little while now. And last week was my week to do it. I was like, right, I'm going to get it done. And I just couldn't do it. I don't know what the hell was coming over me. My brain fog, I do know what was coming over me, but I don't know health-wise what was going on or brain-wise. And was just so brain foggy. I had no clarity. I'd go to do something, like I'd go to record the podcast or I'd go to like make notes about it. And I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. And I think the lead up to me getting to this point was feeling I had my sister and everyone over. So my sister, my nephew, and her partner came over, which was obviously amazing. Like spending time with my family is like super important to me. But I think where it was just all go, 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 I had got a little bit like overstimulated, should I say. We had the kids. So I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I'm a stepmom to two boys, and we were having some challenges with the youngest one during that time, and it was just really fucking exhausting. And I think I was trying to do so many different things at once, and I did hit burnout. And I think that all just kind of like spiraled and snowballed from there. And then my health kind of took a hit as well. But looking into it, into the neuroscience behind why this was happening to me, because I was just like getting so frustrated with myself, I took it upon myself to kind of learn about this stuff as to why this happens. And I came across Dr. Andrew Huberman, his podcast, and he is a neuroscientist. He is a professor. I've been listening to a few of his podcasts and it really interested me, and looking into why this happens. And I don't want to completely bore you with the science because it can get a little bit confusing, and I'm not a scientist. At the end of the day, I'm not a neuroscientist or a professor. So I'm going to be kind of reading some notes for this podcast just to kind of give you a synopsis of what I've kind of learned as to why this happens, like why we get to a point of just like, I can't think, I can't do, I don't know. And our brains just go blank, right? And there is a sciencey reason behind this. So bear with me. So just to kind of pre-frame like how the brain kind of works, I'm going to put it in really simple terms, and I've made notes on this. So I am going to look at my phone whilst I read this to you. So when it comes to our brain, there's a few parts of it that really matter when it comes to focusing and being able to focus, right? So it's the prefrontal vortex, the prefrontal cortex, start that again, which is like your brain's control center, right? So it helps you plan, it helps you make decisions, it helps you stay on task. And so that's the prefrontal cortex. Then you have your reticular activating system. Now that acts as a filter deciding what your brain pays attention to. So this is where like you would see, say you talk about a yellow car or a yellow, like a yellow Suzuki Swift or something like that. Before this time, you've not noticed a yellow Suzuki Swift before in your life. But then after talking about it, you'll now go, and everywhere you go, you'll probably see a yellow Suzuki Swift, right? So that is your reticular activating system. Basically, it is deciding what your brain pays attention to. And then we have dopamine. So you probably heard about this. This is the hormone that drives motivation and makes novelty and distractions feel rewarding. So like looking at our phones, scrolling on social media, that kind of gives you hits of dopamine. Also, there's healthy hits of dopamine, like going to the gym and things like that. So when we get distracted, it's not that we are like weak or lazy or anything like that. It's actually just that our brain is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. So basically, it's just noticing things that feel interesting, feels new, or feels urgent. And chronic stress or anxiety just makes this harder because that means our attention circuits are overloaded. So it's just like it doesn't know which way to go. And hence why we get to that point of being like, I can't focus. I don't even know where to start. Like, I'm sure all of you have, if you're running a business, a small business, and you're running, kids or a home or whatever else you've got going on in your life, maybe you've got a full-time job on on the other side of things. Whatever it is, we're all going to get to a point where we're just like, we'll sit at our computers, or we'll, go to try and post a social media post and just be like, I actually don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to be doing right now. Like, I know what I need to be doing, but I actually just don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And that's kind of where I got to when it came to sitting down and actually creating a podcast. And even, I'm not even like kidding about this, even to the point of literally pressing record just now. I was like overthinking things. I had all this stuff going on in my brain. I was just like, I don't know if I can even do this. And yeah, I just felt very overloaded and thought, fuck it, I'm just going to come on and I'm going to read through some notes because I needed it to help me kind of get into the swing of things, which is fine, right? Still giving the information. So on that note, let's talk about why overwhelm hijacks our focus. Like, what is the purpose of that? Like, why does this happen? So like I've talked about the brain and what pieces of the brain are doing what, another thing we kind of have to understand is something called cognitive load. Now, that's basically how much your brain is trying to handle at one time. Like I just said, it's like I just literally I was doing so much when my sister was here, and I think the come down of all that was just a lot, and I just haven't been able to kind of get out of that mindset. So when we multitask or when we let too many thoughts and emotions compete for attention, and that was a big one for me personally, going back to when my sister was here and having, some issues with my youngest stepson, there was so many emotions going on for me. So amongst trying to do work and household and entertain and dealing with this emotional side of things where I'm just feeling frustrated, I'm upset, I'm feeling sad for him and all of this stuff. And as a step parent, it comes with its whole maybe I'll do a separate podcast on this, but it comes with this whole set of emotional overload, right? So our cognitive load is that it's doing too many things, and it's also having too many different thoughts or emotions competing for attention at one time. So that's why our focus then gets hijacked. It's just like, I would rather be doing the simple things, being distracted by, I don't know, scrolling on my phone or binge watching a Netflix series or something like that. Like, and that's fine to do every now and again, but it's not going to get the wheels moving, is it, in your business? It's being able to kind of recognize when this is happening to you, so then you can kind of maybe have a day where you're just like, all right, put it in the fuck it bucket, but I know tomorrow I need to get on with some shit. I've put it in the fuck it bucket probably for far too long, like a whole week, but today I've had to say no. This is it. Let's get it done. Let's go. So the really cool part about this is there's actually a study that's been done on the reason why this happens. And so this study was done, and I will link the study. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I'll link it in the show notes. Researchers actually looked at what happens in our brains when we focus on different tasks using brain scans. So they did like MRIs and kind of looked into the brain and as to when these things were happening, to see what was actually neurologically going on inside the brain, which is pretty cool. It was not just done on a psychological level. It's actually done on a neurosciencey level, neurological level. So they actually found that when we tackle a challenging task, so something that's a little bit more in depth, a bit more difficult, our brains boost the networks that help us focus and actively suppress distractions. And that's really interesting, right? Because, like I just said, just before I got on to do this, I was feeling still very quite brain foggy. I was like, I don't even know where to start. Like, I know what I want to talk about, but I don't know. And I was sort of getting into my own head. But now I'm actually doing it. And yes, I am reading notes from my phone. I get that. But because now I'm in it and I'm focusing on something that does feel a little bit hard sometimes, my brain is now focused on doing this and I'm not thinking about all the other things. So it's really interesting because it's literally happening to me in real time. And the way you can think of this and kind of put an analogy around it is, think of it like a spotlight, right? So easy tasks, any easy task that you do, the spotlight is going to be quite weak, right? So your brain can still see all the noise around you. It can still hear the ding ding dings on your phone, random thoughts. It's kind of just like pinging here, there, and everywhere, right? So when you're just doing like simple tasks, like, I don't know, washing the dishes, or you're in cooking dinner, it's quite a simple task, putting the washing on, your brain is going to get quite distracted with other things. But challenging tasks or something that's a little bit more in depth, the spotlight is really strong. So everything outside of your focus kind of just fades away. So, like, I don't know if you've ever built your own website or whether you have done something that's actually really intense and you have to really think a lot. But when you're in it, you're like so zoomed in that by the time you finish it, or by the time you need a wee or something like that, you need to go to the toilet, you're like, fuck, I've literally just been doing that for like 3 hours. Like, you don't realize where the time's gone because you're so intently focused on this one thing. So all the other distractions around you, you're not necessarily thinking of putting the washing on, or you're not necessarily thinking of watching that Netflix show or picking up your phone and scrolling, because you're so intently focused on this thing. So this then explains why structured deep work sessions, like I just said, doing something that's like you're quite intently doing, can actually feel easier to focus than trying to multitask through simpler stuff. So now I'm doing this podcast, like, I'm finding it quite easy. Like, now I've sort of gotten over that first hurdle, but like I'm flowing now. I'm like, okay, I'm in it. I'm good. I'm feeling good about it. So, if you're multitasking and trying to do multiple different things, or my brain's kind of scattered in different places, that's where we feel like so lost and confused, and the clarity fades. So it's not magic why this happens. It's literally just your brain. Your brain is wired to actually just filter out distractions when you're in these deep working sessions or these deep focused things that you're doing. That's why actually, like, studying or learning something new, like learning a new language or learning how to build a website, something like that. When you're so focused on it and the task is harder, when you actually get into it, you actually are very focused. You're not sort of here, there, and everywhere. I don't know if I've mentioned human design before, but I'm in my human design. I'm a manifester, and we can talk about human design another time. But basically, it's based on like a time of birth. It's kind of like astrology, but not. Um, and it gives you a rundown of like who you are and how you work and how you operate as a human being, right? Based on the time you were born, where the planets are aligned, and all that kind of stuff. So for me, I'm a manifestor. So it means I work really well when I do deep, intense work for short periods of time. So I can really be focused for short periods of time, but then I need rest and recoup for a longer period. And then I can get back into it. So whatever I do in that kind of really intentful time, short period of time, um, needs to be with a lot of intention, and I need to have a lot of focus and have purpose and clarity around what I'm doing. Otherwise, nothing gets done, and then I'm left feeling frustrated. So it's a really interesting thing to look into if you haven't done it before. So if you are in this headspace, if you are feeling like I've got all this stuff to do, I have no idea where I need to start. I know what I need to do, but I can't physically sit down and do it and focus, and it just feels really tricky for me to do that, because when I do, I'm thinking of like doing this other thing, and you're getting so easily distracted. And then a lot of the time, like I just read out, when we are distracting ourselves with these, silly little tasks, it actually can exhaust us even more than actually just doing that one intentful task, which is what I think has happened to me. I was just so distracted, um, and emotionally kind of burnt out by the time the kids went back to their mums. Like, I was just like, I would rather just distract myself with other things. But in doing that, I actually caused a massive like ripple effect, and it's taken me longer to get out of that headspace. So some tips on how you can kind of move through this a little bit quicker than I did. But again, I'm here, we're living, we're learning, and I'm telling the tale as I do it. Um, so some things you can put into practice. 1, control your environment. So reduce notifications. And I have mentioned this before, pretty sure I've mentioned it on my podcast, or if not, I've written about it in my social media posts. But reducing the noise of your notifications on your phone and the distraction of actually going on social media and things like that. So I actually use an app called Be Present. I will also link that in the show notes. It's just an app, and you can kind of set up your time periods. There is like a paid version of it, but I think I just use the free one. It's been really helpful to me, where I'm more conscious about opening up Instagram or whatever. And you can kind of set how many times a day you want to open up certain apps as well. So you can actually restrict it to like 5 times a day, or less or more, or whatever you want. Tidy your workspace, having a clean house. Now, that's something I did, like as soon as the kids left, I was like, right, house needs to be clean, because with a clean house comes a clean mind. And yes, just having things out of sight means they're out of mind, right? So reducing these distractions, get your washing done, so you're not thinking about, oh my God, I've got like a whole basket of washing. Like, get it done and then get down to focusing. So another tip would be using focus blocks. Now, I don't necessarily do this like structurally, but it could be a good idea, and maybe something that I'm going to try and implement, is to kind of set timers on when I know I've got to do something, just giving myself like 60 minutes or 2 hours or whatever, just to kind of focus on that one thing. If your brain doesn't kind of work like that, then another thing that I do is I create like task lists. Like, this is a bit of my makeshift diary, but I create task lists. So I will just brain dump everything down onto my task list for the day, and I'll get done what I can get done, and I don't put any pressure on myself to do it. I prioritize certain things. So I'll like put a star next to the things that like are really important and I know I need to get done straight away. And the other things are just like, need to do, and also just to get them out of my head and onto paper. Um, Also, just breathing and resetting, going for a walk, meditation, kind of just centering yourself back to that alignment within yourself again is going to be really important. And also rewarding yourself for the small achievements, right? So when you are in this phase of where you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, I feel like I'm stuck, I don't know where to start, that kind of feeling, and you're in overwhelm, then when you are doing those little small tasks and you're focusing on those, just make them small first, but also once you achieve those smaller tasks, that you focused on, then reward yourself for that. Go for that walk or go grab yourself that coffee. However it is you want to reward yourself, then do it. So, and like I said, even just doing a task list, a to-do list, and putting check boxes next to it and putting ticking it off. Like when I do that, I'm like, oh, I feel like I've achieved something. So even the smallest of tasks, you can feel that sense of achievement because you're like, okay, that is now one tab closed. And that's how I actually kind of visualize it in my head, is like, like tabs on a computer. Like I'm just closing off the tabs when I have my checklist like that. So to wrap up, here's a little mindset piece for you to kind of go away with and have a think about. So overwhelm isn't failure. It's actually a signal. So treat yourself with curiosity and self-compassion. Notice what's distracting you. Gently guide your attention back and start small. Even one intentional focus block or focus task a day can make a huge difference in building that momentum back up. So, here is a simple thing that you can actually try today. I want you to pick one task that you need to get done, and set yourself a focus time block. So whether that's 60 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, that is 60 minutes, 2 hours, however long you want to focus for, and turn off all your notifications. Like I said, you can always download that Be Present app, and that kind of just switches everything off automatically for you. And just notice where your attention drifts, and when that happens, when you can feel yourself kind of drifting off, just bring it back. Because now we're talking about this, your brain hopefully will be a bit more self-aware when these things come up. So over time, when you're doing these kind of small steps, your brain will know how to handle them a little bit easier, and they'll be able to focus and not get overwhelmed as well. So just start with that and see how you go. And I'd love to hear your feedback on whether this helped. So you can just share those with me in the comments. That'll be fab. Thanks for being here today. And if this episode resonated, please just take a moment to notice your own focus patterns. It's going to be really helpful, and see what little shifts happen, because those little shifts are going to make a big difference in the end. And always, please like, subscribe, follow, share with your friends, share with people that you think are going to be really benefiting from listening to this episode. And yes, I'll love you and leave you, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.